On the evening of September 7, 1940, a warm late summer calm lay over London. But behind the clouds, high above the English Channel, hundreds of German aircraft were gathering. Not for another test raid, but for the beginning of a new kind of war. This was the night the Luftwaffe unleashed the Blitz, a campaign of terror designed to break the spirit of the British people and force the United Kingdom to surrender. But what happened next shocked Hitler. Because London did not fall. It refused to break. Tonight we tell the true story of how ordinary British men, women and children survived the first night of a bombing campaign that lasted 57 nights in a row. After failing to defeat the RAF in the Battle of Britain, Hitler changed his strategy. He ordered Hermann Göring to launch a direct attack on British cities. The goal was simple: destroy morale, crush industry, kill hope. London would be first, a city of 8 million souls, and the heart of the British war machine. At 4:43 p.m., the first German bombers crossed the coast. German navigators used the River Thames as a guiding line into the city. It led straight to the London docks, warehouses, power stations, factories, railway lines, everything vital to Britain's survival. By 5 p.m., hundreds of aircraft filled the skies. Witnesses later said the sound was like a rolling thunder that never ended. As the first bombs fell on East London, entire streets vanished in seconds. Dock workers ran for cover. Children were pulled into shelters. Families hid under tables in cellars anywhere they could. Fire crews raced toward the flames. They didn't know it yet, but this would be the start of the hardest firefighting campaign in British history. The smoke grew so thick that people said daylight turned to night. As the bombs continued, tens of thousands of Londoners headed into the London Underground. At first, the government tried to stop them, but the people refused. They wanted safety and they took it. On this first night alone, over 177,000 people slept in underground stations. Some sat on newspapers, some on suitcases, some on nothing at all. But they survived. Winston Churchill watched the burning city from a rooftop. He later wrote, "It was a night when the courage of Londoners shone brighter than the flames." He refused evacuation. He refused fear. And his defiance mirrored the people below. At 8 p.m., a second wave of nearly 300 bombers arrived. This time, the attack was even heavier. Whole neighborhoods burned. Rotherhithe, Stepney, Bermondsey, Limehouse, West Ham. Bombs rained down for 8 continuous hours. Firefighters were so exhausted, they passed buckets hand to hand until their arms bled. But they held the city together. At 4:30 a.m., the sirens finally sounded the all clear. London was still standing, bruised, burned, bleeding, but alive. The Luftwaffe expected panic. What they found instead was resolve. People came out of shelters. Mothers pushed prams through rubble. Cafe owners opened early to give rescuers tea, even if their windows were shattered. London refused to break. The first night was only the beginning. For the next 57 nights, London would be bombed without pause. But this is not just a story about destruction. It is a story about survival. The RAF, though exhausted from the Battle of Britain, launched fighters every night. They were outnumbered. They were tired. But they did not give up. Radar stations guided them through darkness. And slowly, they began to shoot down more bombers each night. It was the first sign that Germany could be stopped. One of the most terrifying nights was December 29, 1940, the night of the Second Great Fire of London. German bombers dropped over 100,000 incendiaries. The firestorm consumed St. Paul's Cathedral area, Guildhall, hundreds of streets, dozens of historic buildings. It was the worst single night of the Blitz. Yet St. Paul's, against all odds, survived. Firefighters saved it with a human chain of buckets, hoses, and pure willpower. The photograph of its dome rising through smoke became the symbol of British resistance. To protect the most vulnerable, over 1.5 million children were evacuated from London and other cities. Some stayed with relatives, others with strangers. Many cried as trains pulled away. Parents stayed behind, never knowing if they'd see their children again. But they made that sacrifice so the next generation could live. The Blitz also changed the role of women. They served as air raid wardens, nurses, fire watchers, ambulance drivers, anti-aircraft spotters. They worked through the night, often under falling bombs. Many never slept more than a few hours. But they were the backbone of the home front. By early 1941, Hitler had a new target: the Soviet Union. He pulled his aircraft away from Britain. The Blitz ended, not because Britain gave up, but because Germany turned its attention elsewhere. But the damage was massive. 43,000 civilians killed, over 2 million homes destroyed, hundreds of thousands left homeless. Yet morale did not collapse. Factories kept working. Churchill's speeches stirred the nation, and the people of the UK stood firm. The Blitz failed because London refused to fall. In the ruins, a new spirit was born. The Blitz spirit, a quiet strength, a calm courage, a belief that no matter what happened, Britain would endure. This is the true story of how one of the greatest cities in the world survived one of its darkest nights, and how the people of the United Kingdom stood together in the face of terror and did not break.